type situation to where we could see the potential of some more problems. Let me get that volume adjusted there so we don't see anything going on that location. For right now, again, we are coming to you live and direct. Let me go ahead and get Instagram going on here so that everybody can see a little bit more about what is happening. And wow, this is something here. Trying to do 3 at once on 3 different systems is kind of a bit of a challenge out there. So let me just make certain that everybody is online and ready to go because of our very busy conditions out across the area tonight. This is where, again, we could be seeing some big problems with travel in the morning. We'll talk more about that coming up here in just a little bit. So definitely want to make certain that you are prepared for the possibility of a slowdown or 2 in the morning, to say the least, and then also, again, the possibility of seeing a lot more problems into the rest of Friday, because outdoor activities, especially Friday night football, going to be iffy at best, I think. Yes, the rain will be going away. Yes, we'll be getting rid of most of the problems out there from this storm approaching. But again, travel through the day tomorrow, especially in the morning and into tomorrow afternoon as those winds really pick up. We could be seeing some very breezy conditions for Friday night football across the area. So that is something that we are really going to have to watch. Travel and, again, outdoor activities for safety's sake. Please check our website out, wdef.com/weather, for more closings and information. We are live now on Twitch, on YouTube, and on Instagram. Going to give you the rundown information here in regards to what is going on with the current situation. It is just about 10 o'clock Eastern Time on Thursday night, the 26th of September. So if you're joining us from the Chattanooga area and in that location, if you have any questions about the weather, we are again live on Twitch and my YouTube channel as well. So if you want to ask any questions, please do so. But again, as of right now, I want to make certain that everybody is ready to go to talk about this. We're just going to go ahead and get started with the latest statement here. No other graphics. Again, welcome to Weather Overtime. This is our online video weather blog enabling you, the viewers, to ask questions about what may be going on with the forecast out across the area. And if you have any questions about anything else going on elsewhere, we'll do our best to answer that. But for right now, our main focus is going to be on what is happening down to our south with Helene, which is now a major Category 4 storm. Winds are up to 140 miles per hour. It's got about another 15 miles to go before it hits Category 5. Now, whether or not that happens is going to be rather iffy, because as of right now, this storm is very close to the coastline. So it's a very good possibility that we may see landfall of Helene coming up here within about another hour, hour and a half, 2 hours or so, as this makes coastal landfall around the Big Bend area of Florida. So why are we talking about this so much for Chattanooga? Because of the effect that this system is going to have on us, not as a hurricane. I was on Reddit a couple of nights ago, r/Chattanooga, and there was a lot of chatter on there about the hurricane that was going to arrive in Chattanooga. Well, it's not going to be a hurricane. It is going to be maybe a tropical storm. But for right now, major Category 4 storm making landfall along the coastal area of Florida, and that is the situation as of about just before 10 o'clock Eastern Time. Earlier we did a little shot. We put the lightning markers in here, and right around the core is where we started to see the potential of very heavy amounts of lightning popping up here. I'm not going to put them on for now because we're going to move on and talk about other things as we go on through, but that is the sign of a very healthy eye wall and a very healthy storm system as this makes its way onshore. Tons of moisture in the atmosphere available for this from the Atlantic and the Gulf of Mexico. The waters of the Gulf about 90 degrees. That is rocket fuel on steroids for these storm systems, and that's exactly what we've seen. Yesterday it was a Category 1. Today it's a Category 4. So it didn't take long for this to go ramped up very well, and you can thank those waters of the Gulf of Mexico for being way above normal, and you can thank humans for causing that. Let's go ahead and get you a little bit more information as to what is going on out across much of the area. We'll start off with a little bit of some local information here to show you downtown. Not doing too bad for the time being. You can see some of the wind and the rain coming down from the lights right across around the parking lot of the public library downtown Chattanooga on the Bailey's Heating and Air camera. If you'd like to see any of these cameras, the EPB Fiber Optics WeatherCam Network is available right now. Again, our website at the bottom of the page at wdef.com/weather if you'd like to check and see what's going on there. Let's take a look around at a couple of the other cameras before we move on. Excuse me, from Lee Point, Highway 153 down here, 64 highway overpass here, and looking off to the southwest. That is showing again a little bit better visibility than what we saw earlier. Some very good spray being kicked up by the vehicles, and even more heavy rainfall is going to be possible as we get into overnight, as well as some very windy conditions. So this is just the beginning of what we're going to be looking for. Traffic slow but moving at 2475 looking north, Signal Mountain off there in the distance. As you can see, again, a very good amount of spray being kicked up here. So tonight, overnight, will be the time to make sure you slow it down and make sure that you are doing your best to keep an eye as to what's going on in front of you, because we will be seeing probably a lot of slick conditions in the morning. I-24 traffic through downtown Chattanooga moving through very nicely for right now, at least for the time being. Tomorrow, we'll continue to see less and less in the way of visibility, fog, heavy rainfall, and maybe the possibility of some very breezy winds coming up. We'll take a look at what we may be looking at here in just a little bit. 70 at the airport, winds north, kind of breezy at the airport, but otherwise not bad for now. Again, that is going to be changing as we go into the rest of the forecast toward overnight. Let's take a look at what's going on with the local radar display, and zoomed out to catch all of the News 12 viewing area. Again, southeast Tennessee, North Georgia, northeast Alabama, and Cherokee County in western North Carolina. That is the News 12 viewing area. So that's where we usually broadcast toward. Those are our designated market area counties, and that again showing us the conditions out there for now. Heaviest rainfall in the orange and yellow across portions of North Georgia. So between Chattanooga and Atlanta, some decently heavy amounts of rainfall taking place. We'll take a look at the almanac coming up here in just a little bit. Zoomed in on that particular area, very heavy rainfall taking place again in the orange and yellow. Fannin, Gilmer, Murray, back down toward Gordon counties. That's picking up one of those heavier waves of rain coming up from the south and the east. Now, this is not the hurricane. That's still well on down to the south, but the motion of the atmosphere bringing all this moisture up this direction and shoveling it up against what's left over as a front, that is helping to escort this moisture well back up to the north of us. And we've got a lot more than this coming up throughout the course of the evening into very early tomorrow morning. So quick update again of what we're going to be looking at into the classroom tomorrow. For those areas that still have classes into tomorrow, it's a good possibility you're going to need the rain protection out there. We've gotten a lot of closings so far. If you'd like to find out more about who's closed, who's delayed, who's not, wdef.com/weather. Either way, if you're heading out the door tomorrow, it is going to be necessary to pack the rain gear, allow for a lot of extra time to get to where you're going when it comes to travel out across the area, because we will be seeing some very slow conditions again across much of the area. So something to definitely keep in mind into the early morning hours of Friday. As we get into the next several days, things will be a little bit better, but it's going to take a while for all that to happen. All right, the Hurricane Hunter planes into the storm, passing on through from earlier. The current mission, again, through the central part of Helene, and it looks like they've completed about half to 2/3 of their mission. So it looks like for right now they will be possibly doing another loop through before landfall, and then heading back to base, back over into around southern Mississippi. But the latest information showing about 140 miles per hour. We do have a lot of advisories taking place at this time. North, pardon me, North Georgia, a good swath of Georgia under some form of tropical storm warning at this time, all the way down to the coastal areas. Here in the News 12 viewing area, the northern western counties, tropical storm warnings, and that also includes western North Carolina. So tropical storm force winds expected here within the next 36 hours, and that was issued yesterday, so imminent as we go into tonight. If you're heading south of Atlanta, this is where we have a hurricane warning in effect, where the winds are going to be at their worst, because as this comes on shore, it's strong enough now to where it can both survive over the land surface by just enough, a couple of hours at least, as a hurricane, and it's able to draw in more of that moisture out there to feed it and keep it going for a while. So from the panhandle of Florida into central Georgia, a hurricane warning is in effect for tonight. So if you're heading tonight south of Chattanooga, south of Atlanta, and going south toward the panhandle, off toward the East Coast, may want to think about postponing your travel if at all possible, because this is not good weather to get stuck in and around at any time soon. So what are we looking for now when it comes to those wind gusts? The storm itself has managed to lean a little bit farther to the east, and that's good news for us, and we'll show you why that is coming up in just a little bit. But into tomorrow morning, there will be wind gusts pushing 40 miles per hour as we get into the very early morning hours right before dawn patrol. That is where the winds are going to be the worst in the News 12 viewing area, to where we get tropical storm force winds out there, and that means your morning commute is going to be very sloppy, rather difficult. There could be a lot of debris on the roadways, branches, garbage cans, whatever, not to mention slick conditions out there, so definitely a firm hand on the steering wheel. The core of the storm is going to be slated to arrive as we go toward about mid-morning on Friday. So that's where we see that big swirl, and that is farther east than what we saw in the last several computer model runs. Now that's good news, because if you think about this storm as a clock, 12, 3, 6, 9 o'clock going clockwise, the northeast part of the storm, the 12 to 3 o'clock portion of the storm on there in this particular section of the storm, northeast, that's where the heaviest rain and usually the strongest winds are going to be. Now that is going to be passing us just out of the News 12 viewing area, but giving some very windy conditions into parts of the Appalachians. Then what's left of this system through lunchtime and into very early dismissal time for those schools that are still in tomorrow, we'll continue to see some very windy conditions, 30 miles per hour plus in the wind gust scale, and that goes into around quitting time tomorrow night, around the dismissal time from the school bell to rush hour home, 20 to 30 mile per hour wind gusts out there, and that goes right into Friday night football. So I would be a little concerned for the games that are going on. Again, for the schools out there, the officials who want to play those games, that's entirely their decision on things like that, but not great weather for outdoor activities. And that wind will continue right on into early Saturday morning, because the core of Helene, what's left of it, will be passing us right back over into around the Ohio River Valley up toward western Kentucky, and that will still give us the potential of some rather windy conditions out there. We do have plenty of wind advisories of a sort taking place just past 10 o'clock on Thursday night. Northeast Alabama, DeKalb, and Jackson counties in the News 12 viewing area under a wind advisory for wind gusts of 40 miles per hour. In the rest of southeast Tennessee, high wind warnings are in effect. That, again, for winds sustained of 20 to 30 miles per hour plus. Wind gusts, especially in the higher elevations, as you go up toward the spine of the Appalachians, that is where we could see 65 miles per hour plus. So Knoxville, Asheville, Johnson City, back down our direction, again toward the Tennessee, North Carolina area, could be some very sloppy travel, especially if you're driving one of those big rigs like an 18-wheeler, an SUV, delivery van, anything like that that acts like a sail and catches the wind. that could be some extraordinarily difficult driving conditions as this storm comes on through. Now notice again, we don't have anything down here, and the reason for that is we have that tropical storm warning in effect for Georgia and North Carolina. The worst of the worst winds will be here in the orange shaded category, and that again could top 39 to 70 miles per hour at some portions of time into tomorrow morning. So that is where we're going to be seeing the worst of the worst. Again, News 12 viewing area here, southeast Tennessee, western North Carolina, North Georgia, and northeastern Alabama. That's going to be where we see the worst conditions of the winds. And if you haven't heard just yet, if you're in the area and planning a trip, that hurricane warning will remain in effect through the night south of Atlanta. So if you're planning on traveling south of that area, that is where we could be seeing the potential for some very ugly conditions out across much of the region. How about rainfall? Let's take a look and see what we've got again into the course of the evening. 3 to 6 inches of rainfall will not be out of the question in the News 12 viewing area. And then right back over again into that strongest core of the storm, the northeastern 12 to 3 o'clock portion of the storm. That's where we could be looking at some localized amounts of 10 inches plus. So right around this area, we could be seeing the potential of a lot of rainfall coming on through. And also well on down toward the Gulf Coast, yes, but the worst we're going to be seeing for now is going to be just to our east in western North Carolina, northeast Georgia, and western South Carolina. So again, Knoxville, Asheville, Charlotte, east of Chattanooga, north of Atlanta, northeast of Atlanta. That's where we're looking at the potential of some very heavy downpours coming up as we get into tonight and into tomorrow. That is why the National Weather Services of the area have now posted a flood watch in effect for all of the News 12 viewing area tonight into early portions of Friday afternoon. So please remember, maybe it sounds like a silly poem or a catchphrase, but if it saves people's lives, I'm all for it. So please remember, turn around, don't drown. Don't ever drive through water-covered roadways. That could be the last mistake you ever make. Borrowing the words of meteorologist Dennis Mercereau, who wrote an amazing article for the Vane website, Stop Driving Through Floods, You Idiots. You wouldn't drive directly into a forest fire. Why would you drive into a flash flood? It only takes 6 inches to a foot of rain, swollen area of rivers or creeks to sweep a car. Yes, that includes an SUV or a pickup truck off of the roadway and downstream, where again, if your car gets shorted out, you may not be able to open the windows and escape. So you could be looking at a possible lethal situation. So again, please remember, turn around, don't drown. Let's remember to stay safe out there with the possibility of those winds continuing through the nighttime. Temperatures into tonight, again, will be relatively steady in the high 60s. Winds will continue to develop as we go into overnight, so winds and wind gusts will be increasing into dawn patrol and afterwards. I think that's where the worst of the worst potential is going to be for this area. It's going to come a lot earlier as we get into around the earlier portion of tonight for that area. Now, what about severe weather? We're not seeing anything. There is no forecast for any severe weather for us. There's a much better chance along the South Carolina and Georgia coastlines, an enhanced threat. That's about a 3 out of 5 for the potential of anything involving possibility of tornadoes, and again, the potential of damaging winds from just the thunderstorms that develop out of there. That is for late tonight, and as we go into Friday, the threat gets even more away from us toward the North Carolina coastline. Thunderstorms, we'll see some, yes, but most of that activity, again, going away from us. And then for Saturday, that's pretty much it. It's all over with. There's not going to be much of anything left over out of this. So we do have a threat of thunderstorms. We do not have anything in the way of major amounts of severe weather tonight. So definitely some good news where that is concerned. Let's take a quick look here before we go to any Friday night football coming up for what we're looking at for right now. We are watching very carefully into the rest of the forecast. Let's do this for one quick second. Power outages, we've already got a few for 100 customers around Bradley County, a few hundred into northern Georgia, but that pales in comparison to what is going on, of course, down in Florida, where we have several thousand people without power across much of the Sunshine State, and of course that's going to be getting worse there. I would say for our area tonight, before you go to bed, if you're heading that way soon, I would get everything charged up, flashlights, phones, power banks, whatever you need out there, just in case the winds become too much before we see the potential of worse conditions. And at least if you have the cell phone charged, you could use it as a flashlight. You can get access to the cell phone towers if they are working, so that is going to be something to really take a look at there. Give me just 2 seconds here, and let me just make certain that I didn't delete this, because I want to show everybody what we may be looking at here for the next couple of days. Okay, here we go. We've got Helene now again making its way north. We also have farther out into the Atlantic. We want to take a look at other stuff going on, because we need to be prepared for whatever else is heading our direction, just in case. We have Isaac, a tropical storm, way out in the northern Atlantic over the colder waters there. That probably is not going to last too much. This particular cell sitting over the mid-Atlantic between Africa and South America. Let me just double check this real quick. That stays at 90% on the 8 p.m. update. So this here could be the J storm coming up on the alphabet. We'll wait and see about that. But there's also something going on, excuse me, into the area into around the Western Caribbean, Cuba up here, Yucatan Peninsula here. 20% chance of development here west of the area around Puerto Rico and Hispaniola and Jamaica. East of Yucatan Peninsula is not much. It's a 20% possibility of development. Yes, 20% chance of development on that. So this needs to be watched in case something happens here. And remember, when we're dealing with these situations that we have at this time, the temperatures of the Gulf of Mexico are way above normal thanks to human-induced climate change. That is where we're seeing anything above 80 degrees is an enhancement. It is going to help the tropical systems really develop. Anything over 90 degrees, which there are several buoys and stations out there reporting temperatures above 90, that is rocket fuel on steroids for these storm systems. And that's what we had, a Category 1 here and a Category 4 here right over the loop current. That's good news to be able to see that we are, that's one good reason for talking about climate change and what's going on, because it is enhancing our storms and making them worse much quicker. But for right now, the threat is going to be, again, for overnight. Tomorrow, this is going to be interesting, because I'm just wondering for now how many games are going to get postponed, moved to Saturday, or just canceled, because as we go into the rest of the forecast through tomorrow, I think, yes, we will see a diminishing of the rain and the winds, but I also think that it's going to be foul enough out there with showers and winds and everything else. That's for a very hardy football fan tomorrow night, not to mention the rain and the winds possibly, again, causing damage and debris and snarls and traffic and whatnot. So we'll see what happens. Rick Nyman will have a sports update on that tonight on News 12 at 11. So definitely want to stay tuned for that, and we'll keep you updated. But tomorrow night, Friday night football, I think maybe a little bit on the iffy side at this time frame from what it looks like for right now. All right, so into the weekend we go. A lot of stormy-looking clouds, rain on the camera lens at Island Cove Marina and Resort, looking over the surface of Lake Chickamauga out to the west there. Numerous warnings in effect through tomorrow. Flood watch, a high wind warning, and a tropical storm warning for a good portion of the area. Northeast Alabama, did not forget about you. Again, we've got a wind advisory for you there. Temperature's pretty stable. It depends on where Helene decides to fall apart. As it sits right back to our west, it'll still have enough power to draw in a lot of moisture, that gap in the atmosphere trying to be filled up by Mother Nature at that area of low pressure. that causes the problems in the first place. That is what we're going to be fighting against in this weekend. So if Helene moves away quicker, we will not see much rainfall going into the weekend and next week. But it looks like it's going to park itself right to our northwest, and that could be a bit of a problem for everybody as we go into the weekend. Less and less chances of rain as we go toward Monday. That 20% chance really depends on whether or not Helene sticks around the area and gives us that chance of showers and thunderstorms. So that, again, could be a very big possibility of a problem there. So keep it tuned to News 12. This entire forecast will continue to change in the next couple of days, so it's very important to remain weather aware. So definitely want to make certain you're paying attention to the forecast, especially if you have to travel. Thank you very much, News 12 viewer Gerald Nicholson. Hang on a second, my computer's doing hiccups again. Gerald Nicholson from Dalton, Georgia, who went to Big D's Flea Market in Varnell, Georgia this last Saturday, or a Saturday ago or two, and captured what looks like a dust devil. There is some convection out there. You can see some of the clouds building up, so if there was a thunderstorm overhead, may have been a little bit of convection that spun up a gust-nado, possibly, but I'm going with strong dust devil with this one, with the bluer skies out there. That's our Langley Roofing weather window picture of the day. Thanks to Langley Roofing for being our sponsor on that. If you've got pictures, we'd love to see them and show them. Don't care about the location, and if you want to be anonymous, that's fine. But if you got weather pics, please send them in to us, and we'll feature them on air and online. So you can email them to us. You can drop them to our social media pages with a comment of where you were or what you were looking at that would help us from having to make something up. Or you can go to our main website at wdef.com/photos for more information. Again, please send your pictures in. We could use them. We're running a little low these days, so a little bit more in the way of pictures would be a good addition for everything going on out there for us. Rain will be continuing into overnight, so there will be the potential of maybe some more problems for getting out and about. Trying to find where my latest graphic went to, because it was here, I know that much. If you're sticking around, again, we'll have more on the forecast coming up on News 12 at 11, so stay tuned for more on that. Okay, that's the evening shot. Give me a second here. I'm doing all this myself, so unfortunately I have to keep track of everything on this. Our brand new dog walking forecast. Thank you, Rough Cuts from Cleveland, Tennessee, for being our sponsor of this. Thanks to Kathy from Dunlap getting the trio of puppers ready to go for a walk. If you're taking the dogs out in the morning, rain protection for everybody would be a very good idea, and there could be some thunderstorms out there, not to mention very windy conditions, so your pups might be a little tense tonight as this storm rolls on through. If you've got dog pictures, we'd love to see them and make them part of the forecast, so go to our website, wdef.com/dog pics, or pardon me, dog walk, if you'd like to get in on the action there and send your puppers in for everybody to take a look at. One more time, again, with the information for tonight as we watch this latest system barrel its way toward the coastline. It is just past 10 o'clock, and again, we are keeping track of this system as it moves. It was just upgraded again a few hours ago to a Category 4 hurricane, so Helene, dangerous, and now within the eye wall within sight of the coastline. Going to be landfall here probably within the hour or just afterwards from what it looks like. Again, travel to anywhere between Pensacola and I would say around down toward Cape Coral, Tampa, St. Pete, Sarasota, in that area. Probably want to wait and see what the conditions are for traveling before you head into this area where this monster storm is making its way through. Again, we have had a lot of reports now of very heavy rain, lots of wind moving on shore, and this is going to be something you want to avoid at all costs. So heading to Panama City, Tallahassee, even west of Gainesville, I would be watching this with a lot of interest. And if you have to travel tonight, anything to the south of Atlanta, not good news for traveling for this evening. And all of this, again, is going to be heading up our direction. Wind, rain, possibility of power outages, debris in the roadways could be a potential problem into tomorrow. Power outages overnight, go ahead and charge that phone and anything else that you need to have charged to make certain that you are ready to go if and when the power goes out into overnight. So that is something you really need to prepare for. Again, this is a very good idea to make certain that you are all ready to go on stuff like this. All right, no comments so far on Twitch. Thanks to everybody on YouTube for joining us and taking a look around here. So for this evening, I think we're going to go ahead and send you back to your regular Thursday night programming. Questions, concerns, ideas, complaints, if you absolutely must, hit me up at aonic@wdef.com. That's my email address. We're available at wdef.com/weather. I'll have a forecast update on News 12 tonight at 11. Chip Chapman will be on with special coverage early Friday morning starting at 5 a.m. And, of course, we'll have updates on our website as well. So definitely want to stay tuned on that. Please stay safe if you're traveling in or through this area. You really need to be prepared for what's going on. No, we are not hyping the weather. There's no reason to make weather any worse than it already is. This is us giving you, the viewer, the information that you need to be safe. So that's why we're on here with this information. There's no need to hype weather, so anybody out there who wants to accuse me of that really do not need that. It's not what we do. It's not what I've ever done. This is what we do, give you the information, and you can make the decisions from there. But please, let's stay safe out there as we are looking again at some pretty ugly conditions for travel into tomorrow morning, especially east of Chattanooga into the Carolinas. That, again, is where we see the worst of the worst. So overnight, dawn patrol tomorrow morning. That's going to be the windiest and the rainiest condition we're going to see out there. Clearing out afterwards into the weekend, but otherwise not bad. All right, that'll do it for Thursday night, live and direct from downtown Chattanooga, Tennessee. I'm Chief Meteorologist Austin Onek from the News 12 studios in downtown Chattanooga. We'll have more again on our website and more coming up later tonight on News 12 at 11. And Chip's got your forecast in the morning, so stay tuned for that. Thanks for joining us for Thursday night, and we'll do a wrap-up edition of Weather Overtime for the week on Friday evening, so join us there. Thanks for joining us tonight.